The Basket Weaver's Secret. I still remember the sound of Nabirye's laughter floating over the fields, the kind of laugh that rose like smoke from a cooking fire and stayed in the air long after she was gone. People used to say that her laughter could make even a dry heart blossom. In our village of Kijumbi, deep in eastern Uganda, we did not have much to laugh about, but Nabirye always found a reason. She lived at the far end of the dusty path, just beyond the mango trees, in a small round hut made of mud and cow dung. Every morning before sunrise, you would see her sitting outside, her fingers dancing over strips of raffia and banana fiber, weaving baskets faster than most women could talk. Her children would still be sleeping on mats inside, 3 little shadows curled together like puppies. The roosters would be calling the morning, and Nabirye's hands would already be at work. When her husband died in the fishing floods 3 years earlier, people whispered that she would not last the year. But she did. She kept her house clean, fed her children, and started weaving baskets to sell in the market at Namutumba. She said the work gave her peace. Yet, I always noticed something strange. Every time she finished a basket, before tucking the last strip of fiber, she would pull out a small piece of paper and hide it inside the weave. Then she would close the opening so neatly that no one could ever tell something was hidden within. At first, I thought it was some kind of charm, like the old women used to hide herbs or prayers for protection. But one day, curiosity took the better of me. While helping her carry baskets to dry under the sun, I noticed one of the slips fluttering on the ground. I bent down and picked it up. The handwriting was shaky but beautiful, the kind of letters written with care. It read, "Even when the moon hides, the sun still remembers the earth." I didn't tell her I had seen it. I just handed the paper back to her quietly. She smiled, that tired but warm smile she always carried, and said softly, my child, words are lighter than raffia, but they carry more weight." From that day, I watched her differently. Every basket she made seemed to hold a secret, not just of survival, but of something deeper, something that belonged to her heart. The people who bought her baskets never knew what they carried home. Some used them to keep cassava or maize flour, others to store clothes. No one imagined they were taking a hidden message with them. Sometimes I wondered who those words were meant for. Were they for her late husband or for her children? Or maybe for God? Life in Kijumbi was slow but honest. The rains came when they pleased. The women worked in the fields with babies tied to their backs, and the men gathered at the trading center, arguing about politics and cattle prices. In the evenings, smoke from cooking fires drifted over the huts, and the smell of roasted ground nuts filled the air. That was how life went, until the day the journalist came. His name was Daniel, a young man from Kampala who said he was collecting stories about village crafts. He arrived on a motorbike covered in dust, wearing jeans and a checked shirt that had once been white. When he entered the marketplace, the women stopped pounding millet. Strangers were rare here. Daniel asked around for the best basket maker, and everyone pointed him to Nabirye's stall. I was there that day, helping her arrange the baskets on a reed mat. She had about 20 of them, some plain, some patterned with the shapes of stars and rivers. When Daniel saw them, he whistled softly. "These are beautiful," he said. "Who taught you this art?" "My mother," Nabirye answered, her hands never stopping. She said a woman who can weave can never be poor, because even if you have no food, you can still create beauty. Daniel smiled and bought 3 baskets right away. He said he would take them back to the city and maybe write an article about her work. Nabirye thanked him politely, but I could see something uneasy flicker in her eyes, like a secret that had just been touched. After he left, I asked her why she looked troubled. She wiped sweat from her forehead and whispered, "When someone carries your words away, you never know whose heart they will fall into." I didn't understand her then. I do now. 2 weeks later, a letter arrived from Kampala. The chief brought it to her house, saying it had come through the district office. None of us had ever seen a letter addressed to someone in our village before. Nabirye held it with trembling hands. I stood beside her as she tore it open. Inside was a printed note. "Your story touched me. I found the message in your basket. I want to meet you." There was no name, only an address from the city. For days, she didn't say much. She still wove baskets, but slower now, and she often stared into the distance, as if reading something written in the air. One evening, as the sun slipped low and the sky turned orange, she said to me, "Do you think a person can speak to the world without ever leaving her home?" I didn't know how to answer. In the weeks that followed, word spread through Kijumbi that Nabirye had been invited to the city. Some said the journalist wanted to help her sell her baskets abroad. Others whispered that she was going to marry a rich man from Kampala. But when I visited her the night before her journey, I saw no excitement on her face, only quiet fear. She was kneeling by her mat, wrapping a few of her finest baskets in old newspaper. She looked up and said, "If something happens, take care of the children for me." I laughed uneasily. "Nothing will happen, Nabirye. You're only going for a few days." She smiled faintly and handed me a small basket. "Keep this one," she said, "for remembrance." That night I opened the basket when I got home. Inside, hidden under the weave, was another message. It said, "If words are seeds, may mine fall on kind ground." At the time, I didn't realize how much those words would mean in the days to come. The road to Kampala. The morning Nabirye left Kijumbi was quiet. The sun had not yet risen, and the air was still heavy with mist. Her 3 children stood barefoot in the doorway, rubbing their eyes, too young to understand what was happening. She hugged each one, whispered something I could not hear, and handed the eldest girl, Lydia, a small calabash of porridge. Then she tied her bundle of baskets with sisal rope and climbed onto the back of Daniel Thayes' motorbike. As the engine roared to life, several villagers gathered by the path, waving and calling her name. I watched her disappear down the red road, the wind pulling at her faded yellow scarf until it fluttered like a flag of farewell. For days afterward, the village felt hollow. Nabirye's laughter no longer echoed from her compound. Her empty stool sat outside her hut, her weaving tools still resting on the mat. I kept expecting her to return at sunset, dust-covered and smiling, saying she had missed home. But she didn't come back, not that week, not the next. Then one evening, as I returned from fetching water, I found her eldest daughter sitting by the road, staring at the horizon. Her face was streaked with dust and tears. "Mama has not called," she whispered. "Uncle Daniel said she is busy, but I think she is sick." In our village, we did not have telephones, only rumors that traveled faster than wind. Some said Nabirye had gone to live in a rich man's house. Others said she had been taken by people who buy women for city work. But deep inside, I felt she was somewhere in between, not lost, just trapped in something she could not control. It was nearly 2 months later when the first sign of her return appeared. A large truck came rumbling down the main road, its horn crying like an elephant. Children chased it, shouting. The truck stopped near the marketplace, and out stepped a man in city clothes, clean shirt, leather shoes, holding a package wrapped in brown paper. He asked for me by name. When I stepped forward, he handed me the parcel and said quietly, "From Nabirye." Before I could ask anything, he climbed back into the truck and was gone. I carried the parcel home, my heart beating fast. Inside were 3 things: a letter, a small radio, and a finely woven basket more beautiful than any she had ever made before. The basket had patterns shaped like waves and stars. I could feel something hidden inside its weave. Her letter was written in Uganda, her handwriting shaky but strong. "My sister, I am well, but my hands ache. The people here make me weave many baskets for the market. They say they will pay, but they never do. I live in a house with other women, and we work from morning till the moon rises. They say we are lucky because we are safe, but I feel like my heart is closing. Still, I write my words inside the baskets. Maybe one day someone will read them and understand. Tell my children I will return before the next harvest. Nabirye. I sat for a long time after reading, the evening breeze brushing the paper. It wasn't the letter of a woman thriving. It was a cry whispered through raffia and ink. I hid the letter under my mat and prayed silently that she would return soon, but the months kept passing. Her children grew thinner. Lydia started weaving small mats to sell in the market. Every evening, the girls would wait by the mango tree, staring down the road where the dust never brought her back. Then one market day, I saw a headline in a small city newspaper brought by a traveling trader. It said, "Village woman's words inspire movement." There was a black and white photo of Nabirye standing beside her baskets, smiling shyly. The article said her hidden messages had been discovered by a university group that helped women artisans. They called her the woman who writes hope into straw. I read the article 3 times, my chest tightening with pride and confusion. She was alive. She was known. But why had she not returned home? A month later, a different kind of message came, a phone call from a nearby trading center. The shopkeeper, who had a small Nokia phone, sent a boy to fetch me. The call was from Nabirye. Her voice crackled through static, soft but urgent. "I will come home soon," she said. "They promised me money for my baskets. But I am tired, my friend, very tired. Tell my children to wait for me under the mango tree when the rains begin." And then the line went dead. The rains came early that year. They poured for days, turning our roads into rivers and our huts into dripping shells. Each evening, Lydia and her siblings waited under the mango tree just as their mother had said. I stood nearby, pretending to fetch water, pretending not to hope too hard. On the 4th night, when the rain finally stopped, a motorbike light appeared on the far road. The children screamed and ran toward it, barefoot and shivering. But it was not Nabirye. It was Daniel, alone. His face was grave, his eyes red from crying. He didn't speak for a long time. He simply handed me a small basket, the same kind Nabirye always made, and said, "She wanted this to reach you." My voice trembled. "Where is she?" He swallowed hard and looked away. "She fell sick. She didn't make it." The sound that came from Lydia's throat that night still haunts me. It was not a cry. It was something deeper, like a wound tearing open. I took the basket with shaking hands and brought it inside. The children huddled around me as I carefully peeled back the top layer. Inside, wrapped in raffia, was a folded piece of paper. It said, "Even when the hands grow still, the words keep weaving." That was the last message Nabirye ever wrote. The baskets that spoke. The days after Nabirye's death were heavy and silent. The village carried grief the way a river carries mud, slowly, unwillingly, but completely. Everyone knew her story now. Daniel had told the chief, and word spread quickly that she had died in Kampala of fever after long weeks of work. Some whispered that her spirit still lingered in the baskets she made, that the raffia carried her breath. Others said she had been exploited by the traders who took her art and left her with nothing. No one truly knew. Her children stayed with me for a while. Lydia, though only 12, had already learned her mother's craft. Every morning, she sat outside the hut, cutting raffia strips with her small knife, her fingers trembling as she tried to copy Nabirye's patterns. The little ones gathered the dried grass for her and watched in silence. Sometimes she wept while weaving, and I pretended not to see. Life in Kijumbi moved on, but the absence of Nabirye was like a hole in our shared breath. I missed her laughter in the fields, her songs drifting across the yard, her stories about the old days. At night, when I heard the crickets sing, I used to whisper her last words to myself. Even when the hands grow still, the words keep weaving. Months passed before we heard from Daniel again. He came one hot afternoon, carrying a camera and a small box. The villagers gathered under the mango tree, curious. He said he was making a short film to honor Nabirye's memory. He wanted to record the place where she had lived, her baskets, her children, her laughter if anyone remembered it. He looked at me with tired eyes. "Her story has touched people," he said softly. "The university that discovered her messages has started a women's project. They sell baskets with words of hope, and they call it the Nabirye collection." At first, I didn't know how to feel. Pride and sorrow sat side by side in my chest. Part of me was grateful that her name would live on. Another part ached at the thought of her face on posters while her children still went to bed hungry. When Daniel opened the box, there were 3 baskets inside, woven by women in Kampala using Nabirye's old patterns. But these were different. Each had a small metal tag tied to the rim, engraved with words from Nabirye's hidden notes. The one he handed me said, "Hope is the only rope that never breaks." I held it close, feeling the roughness of the raffia, smelling the faint trace of palm oil. For a moment, it felt like she was there again, sitting in the sun with her quiet smile. Daniel promised to send part of the sales to her children. He left some money with me for their schooling and said he would return in a few months. After he left, I watched Lydia hold the basket, her small fingers tracing the letters. She whispered, "Mama is speaking again." That night, under the dim light of a kerosene lamp, Lydia began to write. Her handwriting was uneven, but her words were steady. She wrote small notes on scraps of paper and hid them in the baskets she made, just like her mother. When I asked her what she was writing, she said, "I am telling Mama that we are fine." The next day, she carried her baskets to the market. People bought them, drawn by the beauty of her work. They said the patterns looked like stories, the colors like emotions. Within a month, her baskets were being sold in the district town. Then something unexpected happened. A woman from the city came to Kijumbi. She introduced herself as Beatrice, part of the university group working on the Nabirye project. She said she had come to meet the late weaver's family. Her arrival stirred old memories and questions. She stayed in my hut that night. After supper, she told me quietly, "When Nabirye's baskets reached the city, we didn't understand the messages inside at first. But when one of our lecturers read them, she cried." She said no artist she had met had ever written such simple, powerful words. "Those messages now travel with every basket we sell. They remind people that beauty can come from pain." I listened as she spoke, tears welling in my eyes. "And yet," I said, "the woman who wrote those words died poor." Beatrice lowered her head. "Yes, that is the wound we cannot heal." The next morning, before she left, she gave Lydia a new set of weaving needles, bright silver ones that glinted in the sun. "Use them to keep your mother's gift alive," she said. From that day, something changed in our small village. Women who had never woven before began to learn. Lydia became their teacher, even though she was just a child. They gathered under the mango tree in the evenings, laughing and sharing stories as they worked. Soon, every hut had a basket drying by the fire. Some wrote words inside like Nabirye. Others simply wove the patterns of their own hearts. The village began to hum with a new rhythm, one of womenist voices rising softly over the sound of raffia being pulled tight. Men who once mocked weaving now carried their wives' baskets proudly to market. Even the chief's wife joined them. I often sat watching them, remembering how it all began with one woman sitting alone before dawn, her hands weaving hope into silence. But there was still something I had never done. Open the first basket Nabirye had given me, the one she said was for remembrance. I had kept it hidden all that time, afraid that whatever message lay inside might change how I remembered her. One evening, as thunder rolled in the distance and the air smelled of rain, I finally decided to open it. I untied the old fibers carefully, the weave stiff with age. Inside was a single folded paper, browned by time. It said, "If these words find you, remember that I did not weave to be seen. I wove to keep breathing. Every strand I tied was a prayer, every basket a heartbeat. Tell them that love is not lost when a woman's hands fall still. It only changes shape. When I read those words aloud, the wind lifted slightly, carrying the smell of wet earth and smoke. It felt as though the whole village was listening. The rain came that night, heavy and loud, drumming against the roofs like 1,000 heartbeats. It washed the dust off the paths, filled the cracks in the earth, and brought the scent of the fields back to life. I sat near the doorway, holding Nabirye's letter, feeling as though her words had stirred the clouds themselves. By morning, the world was clean again. The children ran barefoot through puddles, laughter echoing in the air. The mango leaves glistened in the sun, and for the first time in many months, I felt peace instead of longing. Yet, as days passed, something strange began to happen in the village. More people from outside started visiting. Journalists, students, and even officials came to see the village of the weaver who wrote through her art. They took photos, recorded voices, and asked endless questions. At first, the villagers were proud. They spoke about Nabirye as though she had been a queen. Her baskets hung in their homes like sacred relics. But soon, the visits became frequent. Cameras flashed where silence once lived. One afternoon, I saw a group of foreign visitors walking through the fields, wearing bright shirts and hats. Their guide said they had come from far away, from countries where people hung baskets on walls just to look at them. They didn't know the meaning of the words woven inside, but they called them masterpieces of African resilience. That night, I couldn't sleep. I thought about Nabirye's last message, how she never wove to be seen. Her art was her way of breathing. But now, her breath had turned into something larger, something beyond our control. Lydia, now 15, had grown into her mother's likeness. Her fingers were faster, her patterns more intricate. Yet she worked quietly, never boasting. When people praised her, she only said, "I am still learning from Mama." She had begun to travel with Beatrice to the city once every few months, teaching young women at the craft center. Each time she returned, she brought small gifts, notebooks, ribbons, and once, a photograph of her mother's basket displayed in a museum. But I also saw the exhaustion in her eyes, the way her spirit seemed to bend under the weight of all that admiration. One evening, she sat beside me and asked, "Auntie, do you think Mama would have liked all this? Her name everywhere, her baskets behind glass?" I looked at her for a long moment before answering. "Child, your mother's heart was simple. She never chased fame, only meaning. But sometimes meaning travels farther than we intend. Maybe her baskets are still doing what she wanted, keeping people breathing." She nodded quietly, though I could tell my words didn't fully comfort her. A few weeks later, something unexpected happened. Daniel returned, older and slower now, his hair touched with gray. He had come to film a documentary about the changes in Kajumbi, the transformation sparked by Nabirye's art. When he arrived, the whole village gathered again under the mango tree. Lydia sat beside him, her expression thoughtful as he set up his camera. "Tell me about her," he said to me, just as he had years before. "Tell me what you remember that the world has not heard." And so I spoke. I told him about the mornings when Nabirye sang while weaving, the evenings when she watched her children sleep, the quiet strength in her silence. I told him how her hands never trembled, how her eyes held stories too heavy for words. When I finished, Daniel was silent. He simply nodded and said, "That's the story I came for, not the art, but the woman." Later, as the sun set and painted the sky gold, Daniel filmed Lydia weaving beside her mother's grave. The sound of the raffia brushing against her fingers was soft and rhythmic. He asked her what she was weaving this time. She smiled faintly and said, "A basket for remembering those who forget." The next morning, Daniel left for the city again. Weeks passed before we heard from him, but when a package finally arrived, it contained a DVD and a letter. His documentary had been completed, and he wanted the first copy to stay in the village. The title read, The Hands That Remembered. We gathered at the school to watch it. The children sat on the floor, their eyes wide. On the small screen, our village appeared. The dusty paths, the green fields, the mango tree where everything began. Then came Nabirye's baskets, each one glowing softly under the city lights. Her words appeared one by one, read in her daughter's voice. I wove my life with silence and hope. If my baskets reach you, remember, we all carry something that must be told. By the end, no one spoke. Even the chief wiped his eyes. The film ended with Lydia walking alone across the field, carrying a half-finished basket, the sun setting behind her. After that day, things changed quietly. Tourists still came, but they came with more respect. The university sent books and funds to build a small training center for girls who wanted to learn weaving. They named it the Nabirye Women's House. It wasn't grand, just a mud brick hall with a tin roof, but it became a place of strength. Lydia ran it herself. She taught not just weaving, but reading, writing, and the dignity of work. Sometimes she would pause in her teaching and say, "Every pattern tells a story, and every story is a thread that binds us to those who came before." Years later, when I had grown old and my eyes dimmed, I would still walk to the women's house. The sound of weaving filled the air, soft, rhythmic, alive. And I would smile, because in that sound, I could still hear Nabirye's voice. The last time I saw Lydia, she brought me a basket unlike any other. It was woven with dark and light raffia, spiraling together like night and dawn. Inside, there was no hidden message, only an empty space. She said softly, "This one is for you, Auntie. Mama always said the basket is not complete until someone fills it." I asked her what she meant. She smiled. "You kept your story alive. That was your weaving." Now, as I sit by my doorway, the basket beside me, I often think about that first morning when I watched Nabirye's hands move like quiet miracles. The world has changed since then, but the rhythm of those hands, steady, patient, full of grace, still beats through this village, through every life she touched. And sometimes, when the wind moves through the tall grass and the sun dips low, I swear I can still hear the faint whisper of raffia sliding between fingers. The sound of a woman's spirit still weaving,